Good afternoon, Mr. Young.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How we sounding right now?
Sounds good.
All right. We'll be starting in about 3 minutes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's 4 o'clock. Everybody come on up. All right. Good afternoon. Commissioner Stidham will be joining us in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to announce that she will be joining us in 5 minutes. Mr. Young, could you please start recording, please? Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are convening and broadcasting this public hearing. Hold on 1 second. I have the wrong. You can stop the recording, Mr. Young. I meant to start all over once I find my file. Oh. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Mr. Young, can we start the recording again, please?
It's going.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are convening and broadcasting this public hearing by video conferencing. My name is Anthony Hood. I'm joined by Vice Chair Miller and Commissioner Wright, as well as Commissioner Stidham, who will be joining us in about 5 to 10 minutes. We're also joined by the Office of Zoning Staff, Ms. Sharon Shellen, and Mr. Paul Young, who will be handling all of our virtual operations, and also our Office of Zoning Legal Division, our counsel, Ms. Hillary Lovett. I will ask all others to introduce themselves at the appropriate time. The virtual public hearing notice is available on Office of Zoning's website. The proceeding is being recorded by a court reporter and is also webcast live via WebEx and YouTube Live. The video will be available on the Office of Zoning's website after the hearing. Accordingly, all those listening on WebEx or by phone be muted during the hearing, and only those who have signed up to to testify will be unmuted at the appropriate time. When called, please state your name before providing your testimony. When you're finished speaking, please mute your audio. If you experience difficulty accessing WebEx or your telephone call in, then please call our OZ hotline number at 202-727-0789 to receive WebEx login or call-in instructions, or if you have not signed up to testify. All persons planning to testify must have signed up in advance and will be called by name at the appropriate time. At the time of sign up, all participants will complete the oath or affirmation required by Subtitle Z 408.7. If you wish to file written testimony or additional supporting documents during the hearing, then please be prepared to describe and discuss it at the time of your request when submitting. The subject of this evening's hearing is Zoning Commission Case number 11-03N, Wharf Phase 3, REIT, somebody tell me what that is, leaseholder, LLC, which I think I know this. Modification with hearing of second stage PUD at Square 473, Lot 1008, 635 Wharf Street, Southwest. Again, today is November 17th, 2025. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with provisions of 11Z DCMR Chapter 4 as follows. Preliminary matters, applicant's case. The applicant has up to 60 minutes. We're here collectively with the parties in support of opposition. I don't think we have any ANC report. So report of the Office of Planning, Department of Transportation, report of other government agencies. We will actually hear report of other government agencies first, then we'll hear report of Department of Transportation, and then the report of the Office of Planning. Report of the ANC, testimonial organizations and individuals, organizations 5 minutes, individuals 3 minutes. And then we'll have rebuttal and closing by the applicant. At this time, the commission will consider any preliminary matters. Does the staff have any preliminary matters?
Just briefly, I think that REIT is Real Estate Investment Trust.
Okay.
But I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sure Mr. Avable will correct me. But as you stated, this is a modification with hearing. Originally, it was filed with as a modification without hearing, I believe close to a year ago, if not a year. And so the commission asked that they come back and file it as a modification with hearing. And so they are at that stage. They are asking for a modification to a second stage PUD that was approved by the commission to authorize a retail pavilion that would add an enclosure or enclose the eating and drinking establishment that has already been constructed on the property. And it would allow for operable louvers and roll-up side shades to extend some of the seasonal months and during any inclement weather that we may have in the district. At ANC 6D, there's no report. However, today I did receive an email from Gottlieb Simon, the chairman, asking if they could have the record open until at least Wednesday to provide a report. So if the commission would consider that for them. And OP's hearing report is at Exhibit 18. I looked a little bit ago, did not see a DDOT report or any other government agency reports. If I'm incorrect, I'm sure someone will let me know. But other than that, I am ready to turn it over, except for one expert witness, and that being Shane Detman, who has previously been accepted, just asked that he be accepted in this case as an expert in planning.
Okay, we're going to do Shane Detman like we did Stephen Shearer. Any objections, colleagues of Shane? Okay, no objections. But before we move any further, can we get Commissioner Stidham? She's having a problem getting in.
Okay, I'll get her in.
Okay, yeah, let's
And
get
the
her in.
ANC, are you okay with them submitting by Wednesday or say by Friday?
Sure, I'm looking at my colleagues' name from the past, Gottlieb Simon. Any objections? Okay.
By
No
Friday
objections.
then?
No objection.
No objection.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's
By
get
Friday. Okay.
Commissioner Stidham
And I'll
in.
get Commissioner Stidham in. Okay, sure.
Let's get her in let's get her in first. And Mr. Young, you can start bringing everybody up. We won't start this year. She's in.
There she is.
Okay, good. Mr. Stedham, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
having lots of trouble.
We are glad to have you back.
Oh, geez, what a mess.
It's only been
Yes,
40
I am glad to
45
be
days.
back.
We are glad to have you back. Welcome back, Commissioner Stedham.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, Mr. Averable, you all may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman Hood, members of the commission.
And Mr. Averable, I'm getting a little older, but I can't hear you. And
I
maybe
can't
need to get
either.
here.
Can you hear me now? Excellent.
Sounds good.
Good. We reconfigured. WebEx didn't have my old settings. All right. Good afternoon, commissioners, Chairman Hood, members of the commission. I'm David Avidable with Goulston and Stores, land use counsel for the applicant, and I'm joined today by my colleague Shane Detman. Thank you for certifying him as an expert witness. We are here to present an application for a modification to the prior approvals to the Wharf PUD. We're also joined by Andrew Sun, the president of District Wharf Properties. Is Andrew on? There we go. Great. He's part of our team. And if Andrew can come up. So District Wharf Properties, which is an affiliate of the applicant, is the company that was established to manage and oversee the ongoing operations of the wharf. And we wanted to start by asking Andrew to introduce himself and just give a couple of minutes of background on his role and the role that District Wharf Properties plays as a steward for the wharf. Andrew, take it in. Andrew, we can't hear you. This is going around apparently.
No?
He is unmuted.
Yes, now we can.
There
Oh,
we
great.
go.
Excellent. All right. Sorry, y'all. Well, thank you, David, for the introduction, and thank you, commissioners, for the opportunity to speak. Two brief 2 minutes about sort of me and the organization. My name is Andrew Sun. I'm the CEO of District Wharf Properties. The district DWP is the investment manager and operator of the wharf. It's a 31-person integrated real estate company headquartered in the Southwest, right here at the wharf. And while the organization has been around since mid-2021, overseeing the day-to-day operations of the wharf's operating portfolio, it did rely heavily on the original developers of the wharf, Hoffman Associates and Madison Marquette, in the development and lease-up of Phase 2. And so, everything changed back in April of 2025, just 7 months ago, as reported in various news outlets. PSP Investments, a longtime limited partner in the deal, acquired the interest of Hoffman and Associates and Madison Marquette. And really since then, the last 7 months, DWP has stepped in as the sole owner's representative, overseeing the management of the common areas, financing and operations of the real estate portfolio, and of course, engagement with the community. And among my biggest priorities in the short time that we've led this neighborhood has been pivoting away from the development footing that the wharf and its various entities have been working under, really for the last dozen or so years, and shifting to a more long-term view of the wharf as an anchor for the Southwest and as one of the economic drivers of the city as a whole. And some of the highlights of that short period of time include increased engagement with ANC 6D, both with the commissioners who represent the wharf and to all of 6D. We're grateful for the dialogue and appreciate the agency's willingness to work with us. A lot of examples of that, in the last 7 months to a year. We've increased engagement with council, particularly council member Allen's office, on issues that affect DC and the wharf. We've increased engagement with DemPed, who's the primary business partner of the wharf, and we've appreciated the continued dialogue and collaboration despite the change in ownership. Of course, we have an ongoing and very strong relationship with MPD's First District in keeping the area safe. And what I'm particularly proud of is the engagement that we've had with many local organizations like Waterfront Village, Southwest Neighborhood Association, SWANA, Theater Alliance, to name a few. These groups, value a relationship with the wharf, and the feeling is mutual. And we haven't really, to be frank, It may not have been a big priority for us to have engagement with these local groups in the past for the many years that we were in development, but we are in a very different stage of our life cycle now, and so we're proud of those relationships. And finally, one of the major priorities, for us has been continuing to make the wharf a safe and engaging place for people from all over DC and the region to experience DC's waterfront. We bring over 8 million people a year to the site. We're proud of it. It was the main and original objective of the Anacostia Waterfront Initiative, and it continues to be our North Star. So we're proud of the 17 plus acres of parks, piers, and public space that we maintain to a world-class standard. We're proud of the 100 free events that we host on site each year. We're of course proud of the 336 affordable and workforce units that are in our portfolio, as well as the countless other benefits we provide to the community. That being said, we these free events, cost something. Obviously, keeping security, going all cost something. And unfortunately, the wharf is not immune to the economic and societal pressures that DC is facing. And so we've had no choice to redouble our efforts on security, to keep the site safe for visitors. We're looking for ways to attract economic activity to DC and the wharf in particular. And probably most importantly and relevant for this conversation is we're supporting our tenants where we can to give them a fighting chance as we collectively work through some of the turbulence in the local economy. And so we appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you, and appreciate you considering a modification of the PUD. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, and turning to the request before you, commissioners, we're here for approval of a small one-story pavilion that will frame an outdoor bar and cafe within the open space known as M Street Landing. And if we go to the next slide, please, Mr. Young. Thank you. Great. Next slide after that. Excellent. The establishment that's going to operate within this pavilion, known as Merchants Marina, is operated by the same tenant that runs the Philippe Chow restaurant that's located within the Amaris building, which was parcel 9 of the wharf, across Wharf Street to the west, north and west of where we are. And if we go to the next slide, please. So this gives you a little bit of a sense of the location we're talking about here. The area that's circled is where the pavilion has been constructed and where the use will be located. You can see the Amaris condominium is sort of to the left side of us. It's sort of to the north and west. And you can see the associated restaurant where it is located right across what is Wharf Street there. So the approved PUD expressly called for outdoor cafe seating within M Street Landing, and the issue today is the pavilion itself. The use in the structure received building permits, but during the review of a supplemental permit, the zoning administrator flagged concerns regarding the enclosing elements, the operable louvers and the pull-down curtains you can see in these images that allowed the cafe to be fully enclosed. Because prior permits had already been fully vested, the ZA allowed the applicant to proceed to construct the pavilion, but on the condition that the applicant secured zoning commission approval for those enclosing elements, and the structure is fully complete and constructed. The commission may recall that similar concerns were raised regarding another establishment a little bit further up the street within the parcel 6-7 office building for a restaurant known as Kinfolk, which the commission approved enclosing elements for as a modification without hearing back in early 2024. We had originally filed this application under the same process as well at the same time, but both the Office of Planning and ANC 60 expressed concerns about the structure. And so you asked us to proceed to refile for a modification with hearing, which we did earlier this year. Next slide, please. And then here again is, I think, some images which we include in our application, which show the location and show the completed structure where it sits relative to the surrounding landscape and the surrounding buildings. Next slide. Thank you. As a modification, the standard of review is the same as the second stage PUD, compliance with the intent and purposes of the first stage PUD. And with that in mind, I wanted to briefly walk through the PUD history, and then Shane will then summarize our analysis of why the modification is compliant with the applicable standards. Next slide, please. And so here, this is an image from the first stage PUD, which approved the overall program and plan for the wharf and included from the beginning this concept of M Street Landing toward the southern end of the wharf development. Next slide, please. In here are some close-up images from the first stage PUD. The first stage PUD showed M Street Landing as an active urban plaza and included, actually at that time, not one but two retail pavilions, and one of which is located in roughly the same location as what we're talking about today. There's comparatively little landscaping in the first stage concept, and the area really serves as a gathering place and crossroads for the retail and other commercial activity that was intended for the wharf. The first stage PUD also considered view corridors and concluded that the design of M Street Landing, including those pavilions that were contemplated at the time, would not impact those view corridors. Next slide, please. And this again, from the first stage PUD, shows the use mix and really shows how it sits in the center amid retail activity surrounding it on all sides. Next slide, please. So as is typical, the design of M Street Landing evolved for the second stage PUD. And this shows the second stage PUD, which was limited to just parcels 6 through 10, with M Street Landing again sitting in between parcels 9 and 10. Next slide, please. The final design shown here bifurcated M Street Landing into two primary areas. The more inward area circled around the fountain, which was closer to M Street, and then a more open and flexible area along the water. M Street Landing remained an active plaza, but the final design introduced landscape areas to help define these outdoor rooms. The area also retained retail activity, though now, if we go to the next slide, please. This is comparing the first and the second. Next slide, please. Thank you. And what you can see in this image, which is from the second stage PUD, is that retail activity was continued to be contemplated, not just around, but within M Street Landing in the form of cafe seating areas, as well as other flexible seating. So it was against this backdrop that the zoning administrator approved the permits for the use of the property for an outdoor bar cafe, but then flagged the construction of a fully enclosable structure around that space as an issue for the commission to consider, just as she had for the kinfolk enclosure. And so with that, I'll now turn the discussion over to Shane for an evaluation of the proposed modification.
Thanks, Dave. And Mr. Young, can we go to the next slide? Next one. And good evening, commissioners. So very quickly, as Dave mentioned in his opening remarks, in terms of the standard of review for a modification to a second stage PUD, it's primarily whether or not it's consistent with the intent and purpose of the first stage PUD, and then an overall detailed site plan evaluation. When it comes to the intent and purpose of the first stage, as Dave mentioned, M Street Landing was described at that time as an active urban plaza with a mix of retail and gathering places, water features, and views to Arena Stage. And with the pavilion that's being looked at this evening, M Street Landing will continue to serve these functions. And as Dave mentioned, while the plan for M Street Landing evolved from the first stage to what the first stage, what you see on the left here, to what was approved in the second stage, which is shown on the right, it continues to serve that first stage PUD stated purpose as an active urban plaza. It's flexible and can be used for markets, cafes, concessions, events, and performances, especially in the more active room portion of M Street Landing, which is closer to the waterfront as well as Wharf Street. Next slide. In terms of M Street Landing's current and contemplated character and scale, the pavilion does not have any impact on the character and use of M Street Landing, as you can see in these diagrams here. It will have no impact on the more passive outdoor room that Dave mentioned around the plaza that's closer to M Street. It also will have no impact on kind of the character and use and the scale of the second outdoor room that makes up M Street Landing, which is the more active portion of the overall plaza, which is closer to the bulkhead and down at the terminus of Wharf Street. Next slide. And as Dave mentioned, M Street Landing has always been kind of considered this active plaza that has, among other things, retail and outdoor cafe seating and whatnot. In the first stage PUD, it was contemplated to be located closer to the fountain, but through the flexibility granted in the PUD order, what we're looking at here is the cafe seating and the location of that kind of orange oval area, which is where the use is currently being looked at, and then it's the enclosing elements around that particular cafe use that's under consideration today. Next slide. In the first stage PUD, there are view corridors to and through and actually out of M Street Landing were looked at. And so we just did a very quick view shed corridor analysis looking at the current built environment of M Street Landing relative to the pavilion that's been constructed, and coming to the conclusion that, like the commission did in the first stage PUD and the second stage PUD, impacts to view corridors will not be adverse whatsoever. In this case, you can see from this image, looking from kind of where M and Main Avenue kind of come together, looking towards M Street Landing, you won't have any view of the pavilion as it's currently constructed. You can see there, that's actually the canopy to the below grade parking structure that's there. The pavilion is actually far on the other side of that particular structure. Next slide. Looking from Arena Stage towards the waterfront, again, kind of the pavilion being tucked into an existing kind of sculptural landscape form that's there. And then next slide. Looking south from Wharf Street, it's kind of pulled off to the side, so that terminus of the Parcel 10 building will not be disrupted whatsoever. Next slide. In terms of circulation, I mentioned, you can see in the orange oval there that the pavilion is tucked into a pre-existing sculptural landscape form. And so the pedestrian movements through and into M Street Landing will not be disrupted. Next slide. This is looking at the back of the structure towards the Parcel 9 building there. You can see it has no impact on the kind of the open plaza area that's available at M Street Landing for those types of markets and programming. Next slide. And so just going back to the standard of review that's applicable here, the proposed modification to the second stage PUD is consistent with the intent and purpose of the first stage PUD and the description of M Street Landing that was sort of described in the first stage PUD order and the second stage PUD order. It's consistent with the types of uses that are contemplated for the wharf in the comprehensive plan, including the future land use map, which shows M Street Landing for a mix of open space as well as low scale commercial uses. And then finally, as the brief planning analysis shows, the proposal will have no impact on the site plan, character, use, views, and the circulation around M Street Landing. And with that, I'll turn it back to Dave.
Thanks, Shane. And I think we can stay here, Mr. Young. I just wanted to conclude by wrapping up sort of our response to the items in the record. First, we're appreciative of the time and the thought that the Office of Planning has devoted to this application. As the commission may remember, OP was not supportive of the original request, but we appreciate the thorough reevaluation that OP undertook, including a site visit to see the completed structure and context, as noted in its report in support of the modification. We agree with OP that the particular design of this pavilion does not impair the intent of the original PUD, and that the degree of any impact is minor, given the overall levels of activity at the wharf. Second, we appreciate the time that ANC 6D has also given to considering this request. ANC was not a fan, to say the least, when we were initially before you over a year ago, but the wharf team has spent a significant amount of time working together with the ANC's commissioners to address issues of mutual concern. And that's noted in, although we don't have a report from the ANC yet, the single member district commissioner did submit a letter attesting to some of that, and indicating that he at least no longer opposes the modification. It's my understanding that the ANC's plan this evening is to essentially consider that. We're certainly understand, well, happy for the record to be left open to hear from the full ANC on any action they might take, and reserve the right, if it differs materially from what the current letter says, to share our thoughts on it. But our hope is we sort of have used the last year plus to sort of set up a framework going forward to work together as Mr. Sun described. And I think we also can say that we agree with ANC that going forward, these sorts of permanent enclosures would be discussed prior to any implementation. You know, these are a relic of sort of decisions that were made prior to the involvement of myself, the involvement of Mr. Sun, but we will make sure going forward to follow the process the way it should be. And then third, with respect to the concerns that were raised by the Morris in the statement that was submitted, we heard from them late in the week last week. We have exchanged some correspondence back and forth with their counsel on some of their concerns that they've identified. We submitted a letter yesterday around noon, which the commission may or may not have had a chance to review. I can certainly summarize that if you'd like, but I don't want to go into detail yet. But let me know and I'm happy to do it. I think on balance, we think that we've found a reasonable accommodation in addressing their concerns, particularly given the context here of an active, dense urban entertainment zone with lots of outdoor dining activity. We really do believe that many of the issues that they've raised are best addressed through the liquor licensing process. That's where things like security, hours of operation, noise are typically handled for these sorts of establishment. And that's the case here. There's a written cooperative agreement that's been in place for a couple of years that settles out all of those expectations. With that said, we did review a couple of the concerns that they raised and thought that it was appropriate to add potentially additional conditions here. One, affirming that this establishment will also utilize the same loading dock, the same loading management plan that the existing establishments use. And then second, that we would agree to no live music within the establishment. And then finally, I did want to note an appreciation for the zoning administrator's careful consideration of this issue, which led us here, which really did provide a fair balance in how to respect validly issued permits and investments by the wharf and its tenants, but also make sure that the commission was looking at this question about sort of something that can create a fully enclosed space and constitutes a building. And so with that, we conclude our presentation and we are happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Averill. Before I go to Commissioner Wright, I'm just trying to think of the history of this. I think the issue is that when the commission dealt with the wharf at the very beginning, it was to keep openness. Is that correct? It was supposed to be open. Am I correct? Like the pergola we're talking about, it was supposed. We wanted to have open view sheds and view lines. Was that the legislative history? I'm trying to remember. I think that was it.
I think that's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
No, I think that is correct, but I also think there was an understanding that it was overall views and view sheds, and not necessarily that it would be completely open and undeveloped. Obviously, there was going to be landscaping. There's things like the parking structure, and at least in the first stage, there was this idea of retail pavilions, which would also be here. So, and even in the second stage, the idea there'd be outdoor cafes and seating. So it would be an actively used area, but that it would certainly not be improved with buildings.
Okay, I appreciate that, and I guess that's been some years ago. Now I'm revisiting, and I'm wondering. First of all, I wonder why you all were here. That was my first question when I was doing this. And my second question, I was wondering what we were thinking, because I cannot find myself as a citizen going down there, sitting out in the hot. I mean, that's just me. Maybe it's just me by myself. I think this is modest. I know people have some concerns, and I think those things can be worked out. I also agree with some of what I've heard, what I saw in your submission about Diane Grooms. Grooms is now the security person on the wharf. She has a track record in this city, which has been very successful, as well as the collaboration that you all are having. Now, I know the most affected neighbors probably don't see it that way, and I get it. But I want you all, I'm sure you all will continue to have those discussions. And I appreciate the comments from the single member district, but I'd like to hear from Chair Simon and all the rest. But I think I think it's a draw, at least for a person like me, because I can tell you right now, on them hot days, I'm not coming down there to sit out there. And I think Commissioner Kramer and I have had this conversation before about another uh, property. But anyway, I just think that it's beneficial. I think this is modest. And again, I want to know why you were here, but I also want to hear from people like Mr. Aguirre and from Amaris and all those people who have concerns and hear what their concerns and see if we can navigate through that. So with that, those are just my quick comments. I was giving Commissioner Wright a chance to get settled and get straight. So I will turn it over to Commissioner Wright. You have any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. I don't have a voice today, so I apologize that I'm very, have lots of laryngitis. Could you talk a little bit about the landscaping in this particular open space? I noted in the OP report that maybe the original intent was for trees that were going to grow so that they were not going to restrict a lot of views. And that may still be in process. You know, the trees that have been planted are not that old. But could you talk a little bit about the landscaping of this area, specifically related to view sheds?
Sure.
Sure, Commissioner Wright. I know, so the view sheds through M Street Landing was an issue that came up late in the first stage PUD. And it was, that issue post-hearing was specifically analyzed. And if you look at the first stage order, it talks about how M Street Landing, really there was no view shed there. There was an idea that maybe it was more sort of like a view towards M Street Landing rather than through M Street Landing, right? So it was, if you can picture yourself look on M Street looking west towards the wharf, it was the idea that you were looking at a space that was framed by buildings, the parcel 10 building, the parcel 9 building. And I think in the order, it even talks about how there was an existing stand of mature trees that was blocking the view to see the actual water at that time. And then, as you saw in the plans in the first stage PUD, which at that time you're sort of just looking at use and massing and whatnot, that M Street Landing was just a completely open paved area with a fountain and a couple of retail pavilions in it. It's not until sort of the second stage PUD where the sort of when you look inside M Street Landing and the landscaping and the site plan of M Street Landing started taking its shape. And that's when it took its shape. It was a fountain at M Street, up at M Street, surrounded by some sculptural forms of landscape and whatnot, with some sort of like understory trees. And then towards the waterfront, it was more urban, where you could have those sort of like programmed events and whatnot. I think you're right. I think I don't exactly know the species of tree that's there, but if you think like phase 2 of the wharf actually has not been open all that long. And I think that it's in process that those trees will, given some time to grow, and then perhaps through pruning, the idea would be there that you would have some views underneath the trees, but not necessarily the intent of seeing all the way through to the waterfront.
And I'd add to that a couple of other things that OP noted in their analysis. One, while I think the high limb deciduous trees are part of it, there is also sort of a fair amount of evergreen planting and landscaping, including particularly where the pavilion is. So it's sort of occluded by that more or less year round. And then the other thing that the Office of Planning noted is that there's a grade change from sort of M Street down toward the water of about 3 feet. So this structure, which is only 11 feet, you know, it's really, it sort of shrinks down a little bit too. So all of those things sort of work in concert. And then finally, the footprint of this is only so much. You still have all of that open space between parcel 9 and parcel 10 to see through.
Yeah, and I do want to note, and maybe you can talk about this. I know that it has the ability to be enclosed, but I would assume that that enclosure will really be probably it will be enclosed for fewer days than it is open, because the idea of sitting out in the open for your customers is more appealing. The enclosure that you have does seem pretty, but again, I'm only seeing it in the sort of renderings and drawings. It seems pretty solid. Is it actually more glassy than what we're sort of seeing in the renderings?
So it's actually, I mean, at least a couple of the images are actual photographs of it. And so there are two pieces to the enclosure. There are the operable louvers on the top, which I think would largely close in the event of rain, and otherwise could be open. And you can adjust them, obviously, on those particularly hot days that Chairman Hood described. I think you might do more, bring them closer to bring more shade than not. And then the other piece of it are the pull down sides. Those are opaque, and I do think the point of the pull down sides is less about enclosures while it's operable. You might do maybe one side of it to keep the rain from coming in if a squall comes through, but largely I think those are to secure it when it's not in operation.
I see.
And that's at least my understanding of how this will operate. And Andrew, I don't know if you have anything further to add on that. You're still muted.
All right, thank you. I think you appropriately described it. I think the idea is about making it a pleasant place to be, and obviously Chairman Hood, mentioned sort of the sun issue. It's a big issue. We're also on the water, and so it is can get quite windy. And just because the rain may be coming top down, the wind does not make it so. And so, really, the idea is about making it like a place that's active. I think Diane Grunes has mentioned she's an important part of what we have here, and this is something that she supports as well, largely because activation has a lot to do with safety. And so even when it's raining, even when it's like a little too sunny, you kind of want people out there, and we think this modest structure does achieve those objectives.
And it's helpful to understand, what I was referencing is they look like either gray or off-white sort of panels that come down and actually fully enclose. And is that, you're saying, primarily going to be for security? And it may be at times to block off a portion of it on a particularly windy day. But when it's operating as a restaurant or cafe, you in all likelihood would not have all of those panels down and set.
Yep,
Is that
that's
correct?
exactly right.
Great, because I was thinking it could become a little claustrophobic. Those are, sort of fully opaque panels, but if they're essentially there for, at night when everything is closed down, I certainly think that makes a lot of sense. So, thank you. I think those were my only questions. And again, I appreciate you coming forward and explaining things in your presentation, which was very helpful.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Stidham, any questions, comments?
Well, if I can get my microphone working, since everything else seems to be a little hunky-dory here, great. So thank you for the presentation and for the materials. That was really helpful. So I just have a few questions. This is already constructed, right? But not occupied because you've been waiting for this hearing. That's correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And what is the expected, what is the occupancy of the building? How many people are supposed to be able to be in this space at any one time? And I'm sure it was in the materials, but I just missed it.
I believe it's around 50 seats more or less, but let me see if I can find that in the plans. I remember seeing it somewhere. Unless Andrew, you happen to recall.
I do not know the number off the top of my head, David.
I recall 40 seats, but there's probably standing room as well. So I think that's
Right.
what Commissioner Stidham was asking about the total occupancy.
Right. Just trying to get a sense of how many people, to get to the concerns that we've heard related to noise and security from others, just trying to better understand, how many people are we talking about during any given period. And I sort of see this as more like an open, based on your description and the materials, this is more like an open area pavilion, right? People would stand around it in order to, visit the establishment, but not that they would be enclosed with inside, which feels very claustrophobic to me.
That's exactly right.
It might be worth noting also that, there may be times when, we don't want, sort of the activity in there to sort of leave. The best way to attenuate the sound is to actually keep it in there. Now, we don't think that, the 40 some odd people who, at max or whatever the number ends up being, is going to really change the amount of noise that happens at the wharf. It is quite active. We bring 8 million people to the site a year. And so we don't think that this actually moves the lever. But if there is a time, the operable louvers is a way to just make it so the sound stays there, as claustrophobic as it may be for the customers.
And is it from the overview and sort of from the Google Street View images in your presentation, is it only accessible from the one side? Is it completely landscaped on the sides and the back side?
Yes, it's only accessible from Wharf Street, sort of across the street from the
Okay.
Philippe Chow restaurant, and then it nestles into the landscaping. And in fact, that sort of the bar is to the back piece of it, so you really just
Okay.
have the seating towards Wharf Street.
Okay, great. That is helpful to better understand. Okay, I think those are the only questions that I had. Thank you.
All right, Vice Chair Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Mr. Shan and Mr. Avidal and Mr. Detman for your presentation. And welcome back, Commissioner Sidham. It's good to have you back. And I'm sorry about your laryngitis, Commissioner Wright. So just following up on Commissioner Wright's question about the opaque side. I mean, I can see how that would attenuate noise maybe better. I'm not sure what the material is. I think aesthetically, both from inside and from outside, it would be a lot better if it was transparent. You can't see, but I guess based on where you said that is, if you're at Arena State, for example, you would, or on that side of on M Street, you wouldn't be able to see that side. It's not facing that side. That side of the that's not in the view shed from M Street. Is that correct?
Correct. You really can't see it. That was one of the photos that Mr. Detman took, and you really cannot see it if you're standing across the street at Arena Stage. Between all the landscaping and everything else, you don't see it.
I still think from Wharf Street and from being inside, the claustrophobic comments of my colleagues, I think it would be, if you can protect weather, if the material can protect weather and still be transparent, I think that would be a lot more attractive for patrons and for people who are around there. That's obviously a subjective statement, personal statement. But we are talking about the design here of the structure, so that's why I'm getting into it. I don't know if you have a comment on that. You seem to want to say something.
No, it does make sense. I do want to emphasize again, I think the primary time that those curtains are coming down is when it's not being used and it's for security reasons. And in that case, you actually really don't want things to be terribly visible looking in, and it's obvious that there's a bar there that may or may not have liquor there or something else. You actually want it to be somewhat opaque and somewhat nothing to see here. I think by and large, when it's in operation, no one's going to come to go have a drink and sit in an enclosed 750 square foot room with vinyl pull down things. You'll go inside a restaurant if the weather's that inclement. We're noting too, as we're looking at the drawings, and I can't recall from when I've been down to the site, the drawings do call for, there's sort of a mesh curtain. So there is maybe a little bit of porosity when you're up close. But again, I don't think the intent is that when people are in there having a drink, or having some food from the restaurant across the way, they're doing it with those down. The intent is it for the open air, because that's why you're coming down to the water, is for that sort of outdoor dining experience.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. And I wasn't here, I think, for the first stage approval in 2011, and you weren't either, Mr. Abbott, but or Mr. Son, but I think I was here for everything else, and I was here. I was in a prior life at the council when a tax increment financing was done. I don't know if it was zoning testimony at some stage or council testimony at some stage, but I vividly remember the architect for the arena stage, Bing Tom, or his representative, I think it was him himself, talking about the importance of the view shed from arena stage, that all glass side that he beautifully built, being able, and he saw all of the water because there was nothing developed there in that first year or two or three. And then it was going to be narrowed down to this view shed, and the importance of keeping that view shed. And I understand what you're saying. I agree. It is a very modest structure. I think it's an attractive structure. I don't know if that's wood or whatever around us, and it's small, and there's all landscaping that does block the view too. I'm wondering if we're waiting for the ANC report, which is important to see. If there's a way we could just I guess I could go ride by it myself right now. If we get a shot of a photo shot from Marina Stage or M Street when the deciduous tree have started to lose their trees, at what the view shed is. I just remember the importance of that openness, and that the chairman was talking about at the outset for this particular view shed. Although, even though the original plans might have included those two retail pavilions, and I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't realize that, but it wasn't in the PUD order. The structure itself, not just the enclosed louvers on the roof. Well, I'll put this in the form of a question. What's before us is the structure, the building. It's not just the closing of the side and the closing of the top, which you want to do. It's the building, because that structure was not in the zoning commission's PUD order. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that's where we are at this point. It's the one could split hairs a little bit on, is a more open structure allowed, because clearly what was called for in the PUD was the idea that there would be cafe seating related to a specific tenant. And this has been sort of the ongoing question about what happened over a series of years with all of the restaurants at the wharf, where they had outdoor cafes that were allowed, and then they added sort of a little bit of a structure over them as a roof. And then during COVID, everyone added the sort of the more fulsome enclosures. And at what point does an open outdoor cafe become a building? And really what happened here was there was a change in zoning administrator, and the last couple of ones that came through, Kinfolk and this, the zoning administrator said, hey, this feels like it goes a step too far, and it needs to go to the zoning commission. And so I think while it might have been those enclosing elements that pushed it there, I don't think we would quibble over sort of what it is. The point is, it is the structure that requires the review and the approval of the commission, and we understand and we agree.
And I agree that it's a very modest and generally attractive structure, and will contribute what the entire Southwest waterfront development contributes to, an incredible revitalization of that area. for benefit of the entire District of Columbia and region. It's been an amazing revitalization. I appreciate the community engagement you've done since you've taken over and trying to and with engagement with the ANC and the neighbors was, and we'll look forward to the ANC report. I think I didn't see the SMD report. I think I have to pull it up, and I don't know if that came in later. I just probably missed it. But the SMD commissioner, you said, has no objection. Is that correct?
Yes, he said he has no objection, does not oppose the current application. It notes, it does note very clearly, like, look, this should have been discussed before anything was proposed. And further, the fact that it was constructed sort of before consulting with us is a problem, but he ultimately says, look, the fact that it's done and that it would open, it isn't going to, cause a problem as long as the provisions of the cooperative agreement with the ANC are adhered to.
Right. That is, I did see that actually. Because it had the ANC 60 letterhead, but I see it's from Bruce Levine, exhibit 20. And yes, he did at the end, he did have no objection in general, but was upset about how it all came about. And he urged the commission to reiterate the need for compliance with the relevant PUD orders so that A, no one has to expend valuable time and effort on matters like this case in the future, and B, the constituents of AN 60 and in particular residents of the Amherst condo immediately across from the bar pavilion are not negatively affected. So I hope by reading that I have urged the applicant to do that, just that. Was there any community engagement with Arena Stage representatives about the view shed?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you bringing this forward. I have no further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Michelle, I don't believe we have Gottlieb Simon here, Chairperson Simon, right? For the ANC.
I did not see him, but let me look one more time.
Kind of funny. I've never called him Chairman Simon.
I know he's always had a different role since he's been around. I do not see him, no, sir.
Okay. All right. Let's go to, do we have Office of Attorney General?
I did not have anyone signed up, and I
Okay.
don't see
What about
anyone.
DDOT? Let's go to DDOT. Do we have DDOT?
I don't see anybody from DDOT, actually. Let's see. Mr. Avidable, who were you working with from DDOT? I don't see.
We reached out to DDOT, and they determined that given the minor nature of this, they didn't plan to.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't have anybody up here from DDOT.
So we don't have a letter either from them. At least I didn't see it. Maybe it's
Correct.
Yes,
I don't
did
recall
not
seeing
see
anything
one
from
either.
DDOT.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to the Office of Planning. I think we have that, don't we? I'm sure.
Yes.
I know. Mr. Jessic.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. The Office of Planning reviewed this PUD modification against the policies of the comprehensive plan and against the design and intent of the original PUD approval. And OP finds that the application is not inconsistent with the general policy guidance of the comprehensive plan or the general intent of the original PUD, both of which seek to create an active mixed-use southwest waterfront with open spaces and eating and drinking establishments. OP also examined the particular policies for this exact site and the discussion of this location during the Commission's PUD hearings. And OP finds that this particular design, given its scale, the significant surrounding landscaping, the change in grade, and other view obstructing structures, does not impair the intent of the original PUD, nor change the facts upon which the Commission made its original decision to a degree that would alter that original conclusion. OP can therefore recommend approval of the proposed modification. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jessup. Let me I'm looking at my colleagues. Anybody have any questions of Office of Planning? Okay, I'm hearing none. Mr. Avidal, do you have any questions of Office of Planning?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jessup, for your analysis and the report.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just had one question I meant to ask Mr. Avidal. The ABC APCA, I guess, co-op order incorporates the cooperative agreement for the Philippe Chow and restaurant and this Merchants Marina bar winery. Is that correct?
Yes, it's for both. The cooperative agreement covered both, and so the order, as I understand it, covers both as well.
Yeah, I recognize you may not have been part of that proceeding as well, but that I think based on the date I see in that cooperative agreement that wasn't included in this record, it's 2024. I assume, like a lot of ABC licenses, that comes up for renewal every 3 years, I think. So there would be an opportunity for neighbors to assess if this opens and operates under that cooperative agreement to see if it's working, and for the operator to see how it's working and work that out in that process, which I think is actually the more appropriate process to deal with a lot of the issues that the neighbors have raised here. But so is that your understanding that it probably, Mr. San, that ABC approval of the ABC license would come up for renewal again?
Yes, you're correct. Our understanding is that we are a couple of years into it, that there will be another opportunity to readdress it as part of the extension or renewal of the APCA license.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
And I would concur, Vice Chair. I have become very fluent with ABC, APCA, and Bega as I was trying to make sure that we do our closed meetings correct. So I've done my homework, and you're right. I've been watching their hearings like I don't have everything else to do. But I think Chair Anderson and that group will be able to handle a lot of those issues that have come up, and they will be evaluating, and they do actually do a very good job. So anyway, so nobody sat and put a plug in for APCA. Okay. All right, Michelle.
I don't know if you're sitting watching their hearings when you have free time. I'm a little worried about you.
Well, I had to do that for us because I wanted to make sure that Bega, that we were right with what we were doing, and they were one of the people I watched, and I also watched Bega, so I had to learn. So it's actually been very informational. I still like the zoning commission better, and I'll just leave it at that before I get myself in trouble. All right, let me Michelle, do we have anyone here? I know that I don't think Mr. Levine is going to be speaking tonight. He's waiting for his full ANC. So do we have anyone who's here in support?
Sorry about that. Yes, in support, we have Dana Rollison and Will Butler.
Let's bring them up. Let's go with Dana Rollison first, and then we'll go to Will. I didn't catch the last name. Anyway.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I'll keep it super brief. I'm a resident down at VO. I've lived in DC since 2015 and at VO for 3.5 years now. And every day, take like a long walk, do a lap, walk past that, and have been really excited for it to open. It fits really well with the area. Sometimes we love like our little super lively area with like so much, outdoor dining, outdoor music, all sorts of things by VO. And then as you kind of walk towards that side, you can, it gets a little quieter, and I feel like it would be such a good addition to the area. That there's little closure things that they're talking about too. If you walk up to them, they're just kind of like, imagine almost like mesh, you know what I mean? Where like if you peek up really closely, like wind can go right through them, like you can kind of push on them. So it's not like it's this big, thick, like hardened stuff that comes down. If anything, it'll probably be helpful to have like just on one side when the sun just like blasts you, And we've been like kind of sad that it has been closed for the last year, and like constantly peeking in to see if like they've done it, the building process and where it's going. Anyway, I guess I'm happy to answer any questions or like speak more on this, but we love the area. We love the wharf. We love the it's so exciting to have a neighborhood that's so lively, that has so much outdoor space. And that area gets a lot of folks just kind of sitting in a lot of those like open seating areas and stuff. And I think having like a structure like that provides some additional food, drinks, things like that would be great. And it's a really, really common, popular area during all of the monthly events and other things that pop up where they set up like a little bar area and stuff. And so it's kind of become that like staging point, for special occasions. And I think it would be really cool to have something there regularly.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rollison. If you can hold tight, we may have some questions for you. Let me go to
for
Mr.
sure.
Okay, thank you. Will Butts. I think I pronounced your last name right. I'm not sure.
Hey, everybody, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Nice to meet you all, and thanks for the time to speak. I was going to say pretty much everything that Dana just said, so I'll be brief. I just want to say I love living down here at the Wharf. It's one of the most innovative urban areas I've really ever been. And I appreciate that y'all are being so thoughtful about designing these public spaces. And I can just say that as somebody who lives with these decisions every day, I can confirm that like the circulation, the views, the scale, the use, it all seems very appropriate and usable to me. And I think it's going to have a real positive impact on all the public space and the local businesses around it. And, to be honest, I actually kind of like these enclosures. Like if you look at Kinfolk, that's where a lot of people want to sit. And like some of y'all have said, it can get really windy down there sometimes. So I actually think it's great to be able to control that to some degree. So anyway, I'll keep it brief. I just wanted to say I'm really excited for this thing to open. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you both. Let's see if we have any questions. I'm looking at my colleagues. Any questions or comments? Vice Chair Miller?
No questions, comments. Thank you, Will and Dana. I can't remember your last names, for your participation here this evening and your comments, and for helping revitalize that neighborhood.
I too want to thank you. I can tell you that sitting in all the hearings that we had on the wharf and actually eventually going down there, I think it was very successful. Those hearings, even though some of them were in opposition, but I think the city has come up with a win-win, because when I go down there, it's very nice. And to hear you all say it, that makes all those hours of wharf hearings and those nights in the hearing room worth it. So thank you for at least letting us know that we did do something right all these years. So thank you both. All right, Ms. Shellen, let's bring up opposition. Do we have any opposition? I think we finished support.
Just a couple, just two. Mark Aguirre
Okay.
and Lori McMahon or McCann.
Okay. Miss.
And that will be the end of all witnesses.
Okay, Michelle, I'm not going to follow you with his last name. I'm going to say Aguirre. I may be wrong, but let's see who's right this time.
Okay.
Mr. Mark Aguirre or Aguirre, if you can correct us, you may begin. You might want to unmute yourself. If you're on your computer, you'll see a little button that says mute. Just hit that.
I'm unmuted now, right?
There you go. There you go.
Is there a way to turn my video on? I could not find that in this.
You see something to the right of the mute button?
There. All right.
All right.
All right. So it's Mark Aguirre. That's how I pronounce it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how they pronounce the basketball player with my same name in Dallas. But anyway, yeah, I'm a resident here at Ameris Condominium, and I strongly oppose any and all requests for Philippe Chow to establish Merchants Marina Bar and Lounge on the M Street Landing. The proposed sports bar would directly face our building, unlike anywhere else on the wharf, understand. and will be 50 feet from my closest neighbors and my bedrooms. 50 feet. That's not an exaggeration. That's not across the street. That's not down around the corner. That's right in front of our bedrooms. This is going to create an unacceptable impact on our privacy and ability to enjoy our homes. I think my video went out again. I'm not sure why. And it's important to me because before the sun sets, I want to show you where it is.
Actually, you can't show us that. Just go ahead and give us your testimony, because you cannot show us that unless, well, you know what? You don't show us that. Don't show us that.
Okay. All right. So a large majority of Marist residents share these concerns. We believe that the proposal would bring increased noise and late night disturbances, heightened safety and security risks, and negatively impact our property values and our quality of life here at Marist condominiums. That's pretty much all I was going to say. Before I turn to say, thank you for consideration. I just wanted to say that what I'm not hearing anyone say is there's no bathroom in this place, and the way to get to the bathroom from Philippe Chow is to go to the back of our building, and inside the restaurant to the back of the restaurant. It's just poorly conceived. I really think that this is unwise. It's unfair to those of us that face this, and the unfortunate damage it's going to do to our property values. Our units here on this side face the water, have the best views, and we're going to take a hit once this place opens. It's been there. And I know real estate agents asked what's going on with that, because several units sold in these tiers here. And it's just terribly unfortunate. We were not warned that this was going to be activated like this. As I saw that there was a VO resident there. There were several VO residents here, and who left VO to come here. And she asked specifically the developer whether or not this was going to be monetized, and was told no. And but she was aware they put one of these in front of VO after VO was built. So she chose the other side of the building. That's kind of the scuttlebutt on all of this. That summer garden in front of VO, which is part of the Del Mar restaurant there, is never used. I've been here for 3 years. I never see it open. I never see people in there. I think it's a flawed concept. The only way to make something like this work is to make it year round, because you can't hire staff and just fire them once it gets so cold that the place is just operable. It just does not make sense to me. Anyway, I'm willing to take any other questions. I know someone had brought up trees. I've been here for 3 years, and the trees are already to a size that the views I have from my unit are far changed, and I think it's only going to get more obstructed to the point where I won't even really be able to see much of anything. And perhaps someday, I'm on the 4th floor, someday I may not be able to see the water. So I think there were too many trees and too many big trees put on this landing. So I'm going to be here if you have any questions. I'm
Okay.
open to answering.
So Mr. Gary, I'm not trying to give you any additional work, but by law you can't show us anything because we can't put it in the record. But what you can do, and doesn't have to be the scale, you can give us a schematic drawing. You don't have, it can be just a little scribble or however you want to do it, to give us kind of what you were trying to show us. I'm trying to give you a way to show us what you were trying to convey to us, if you want. I just want to open that opportunity up to you, and you'll let us know if you want to do that. If not, we will go with your testimony. Let me see if my colleagues have. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm willing to do that. That's an easy thing for me to do. But just understand, I am not exaggerating. This is 50 feet from our bedrooms on this side.
Again, that's why I'm giving you that opportunity, because you cannot show us that because we can't put it in the record. but you can give us a little, just, it doesn't have to be scale, just give us something of what you're trying to convey to us. That will help you. All right, let's see if we have any questions of Mr. Aguirre. I'm looking at my colleagues.
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chair Miller.
I know we do have some rule about showing things during verbal testimony. I thought he could also just take a photograph and submit that for the record. Is that not permitted either?
He could do that too, but I thought a drawing for me, so like something I could see. So
I just
either
thought you gave him a harder homework assignment than might be necessary. That's all.
Well, when I draw stuff, it ain't hard, but whatever he decides to give, if a picture, whatever gets his point across, I want him to feel comfortable, whatever gets his point across.
No, I was just trying to understand what our rule, I knew we have a rule about that. I just was trying to, I think it was during verbal testimony, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, he can't show us anything because we can't put it in the record, even though it's on tape. But he can't show us that. And if our legal counsel want to correct me and tell me I'm wrong, they can do it because I know that's what the BZA does, and we actually supersede the BZA. So, all right, thank you. My colleagues have any questions? All right,
just one, Chairman Hood. Mr. Aguirre, did you participate in any of the ANC meetings regarding the work here?
I did. It was the year that I was on the board, and I represented the board to the meetings, and I spoke out and put together a statement saying that we oppose this, that passed the board with, and so I read that into the statement. Bruce had that. Yeah, I'm really surprised. I left the board last year or earlier in the year, and I'm just kind of surprised things have changed so drastically. There's nowhere else on the wharf that this happens, but right here. And I don't think it has anything to do with what was meant here at the wharf to put up bars facing homes. We have young families and retirees and people mid-career that are focused on work. And it's just absurd, the thought that they have put this bar to face our homes and our bedrooms. It's not right. It is just not right.
Okay, thank you very much.
I've been informed by legal counsel. You can a photo or a little drawing, whatever you want to do it. I think a sketch or whatever, however you want to do it. Whatever's going to get your point across to us, that's what you can do. You can send. So they've advised me either one is okay. Thank you for that. Mr. Abbott, do you have any questions to Mr. Aguirre?
No, I'll save a couple of points for rebuttal. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you both. No, thank you.
Oh, wait, we need to hear from Ms. McMahon as well.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go back to her. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Abbott. Thank you again, Mr. Aguirre. Ms. McMahon, is it McMahon?
McMahon, like Ed and Jim, no relation.
Okay, go right
Anybody
ahead.
that remembers those two.
Okay.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Appreciate your time to all the commissioners and to everyone else that's in attendance. I've been listening, and it's very interesting because Mr. San's commentary about the evolution of the wharf is exactly what's happening here. We talk about this cooperation agreement that was signed in 2024. It was about the time that this association went from a developer-led board to a resident-led board. And that provides for much of the conversation today has been about a beautiful sunny afternoon and enjoying a cocktail at the wharf. The concerns, and I know Mark shares these, is what happens at 1 a.m., which is the time that this bar can be open until. The applicant aligns the operation of the proposed Merchants Marina with the existing restaurant. It's important to note that the branding and fare is very different. It's a bar and lounge, and the Philippe Chow installation is a high-end Chinese restaurant. The atmosphere, expected activity level, they're not comparable, and you just heard from Mark that the distinction is really important to our residents. The hours we propose to the applicant for Merchants Marina are consistent with those with the current operation of Philippe Chow. And in fact, as Mark noted, and as was noted in the letter from Mr. Avidable, there's no infrastructure or restrooms. And so it's unclear how it could reasonably remain open beyond the restaurant operating hours. Noise is not unique to the wharf, but we all know under 20 DCMR Chapter 27, noise management is a reactive process. And when excessive noise occurs at night, which it does, there's really no real-time remedy. And as Mark said, for certain residents within Amaris, there'll be significant impacts. I did want to clarify that we have two primary concerns regarding loading operations. First, we oppose loading and unloading on Wharf Street to the pavilion. And the applicant has said they would work with us to ensure that didn't happen. So we really appreciate that. The second is the movement of materials, trash, food, supplies from the restaurant to the pavilion, which is essentially becoming right in front of our building at our front door. The route pass, like I said, it's right in front, and it's not as simple to load a pavilion in open space. Philippe Chow's connected to the loading dock in our shared building through behind the scenes, private loading corridors. That's not the case with the pavilion. Effective management and clear restrictions on the activities to load this pavilion are really important. We talked about drop off and pickup, and I know that may or may not be in the context of this particular matter, but they're really heightened by Merchants Marina, specifically because it's marketing itself as a private event venue on its website. And it's likely to attract additional rideshare traffic, groups of guests arriving together on busy days at the wharf. And again, everyone that lives here loves the environment. It's really all about balance. But on busy days at the wharf, parking operations in Garage 3 are queuing both in and out. So if this operation impacts Wharf Street, it impacts the only way residents can get in and out of their parking and in and out of the building. We've emphasized in our testimony that we have to maintain the right-of-way on Wharf Street, and that I think includes some parking operations. So what's interesting, as I mentioned, most of the conversation we're talking about here is a beautiful sunny day. That's not going to be the most impactful time for residents at Amaris, and that's something we would ask the applicant to reconsider. And I'll end by saying, with awareness of the urban conditions disclosure that the applicant referenced, many Amaris homeowners chose this building because of the unique park-like open space to the east, consistent with the plan that Commissioner Miller talked about earlier in the hearing and what his expectation for that space was. And people living here chose it specifically in lieu of making a decision to be at VO in the center of the action. So the shift is significant. It's significant to the character, and the consequences are deeply meaningful, as you can hear, for someone who's going to sort of live right in front of the establishment like Mark. We do support a thriving wharf ecosystem, and I will say to anybody from the wharf, Amaris residents probably contribute more to the retailers than any visitor coming here once or twice a year in terms of bars, restaurants, picking up takeout, and being an active members of the community. But we respectfully ask the commission ensure that the residents' needs are fully addressed. So the wharf remains a thriving environment to play, to work, and to live. And I think that's really all we're really focused on right now. So thanks so much for the time and for considering our point of view.
Thank you, Ms. McMahon. Let's see if we have any questions or comments. Commissioners, I'm looking. Nobody. Okay. Mr. Adler, you have any questions or comments?
No comments other than to say hello. Ms. McMahon and I have a client in common that we work closely with together.
But, that's good that even through all this, you still have relationships and still able to work together. But I will ask you this, Mr. Avenable. I noticed that Amaris had presented us with some approving application. You responded. You all did respond to that. Those were your responses.
We responded and on two of the items where we said we could prohibit no live music, and then part of the loading piece of it as well.
And if you could talk about that to reiterate that for all of us, will you do your rebuttal or close?
Will do.
All right, Ms. McMahon, thank you very much. And we'll see how we can try to balance it as requested. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Michelle, we don't have anyone else or anybody undeclared, do we?
That is correct.
And nobody showed up late, so we're good.
That is correct.
All right. All right, Ms. Avenable, if you have any rebuttal, if not, we'll take your closing.
Certainly. A couple of quick points on rebuttal, and then I can briefly go through our response to the issues that were raised by the Amaris, which we thought about and worked on over the last couple of days. First, Mr. Sun, I have a question for you, and I'm doing the dangerous thing that lawyers should never do, is ask a question when you don't know the answer. But It came up that the ABCA process allows and requires renewal of these things. You've now seen a couple of other restaurant tenants have to go through that renewal process, I assume. Are you aware of any others that made changes as they've gone through the renewal process to respond to either concerns you all expressed or concerns that residents expressed?
Yeah, that's a good question, David. We obviously have a lot of tenants here. We've been open for 8 years this year. We don't typically get involved in that ABCA process, as when we lease space, we lease the leasehold improvements and space to a tenant. And so really the onus is on the tenant to work with the community to sort of get to like an appropriate solution. Like, I don't dictate exactly what's on Philippe Chow's menu. It's not really like, that's not our business. We're in the real estate business. And so I can't speak to any individual instances of that changing, but that's what the process is for. And we do keep close tabs on it because we obviously are looking out for the success of our tenants. But as hopefully the ANC will attest, we partner with them a great deal for joint causes. And sometimes if a tenant is sort of not behaving to what we would like, and it's still within the bounds of their lease, then we would also stand with ANC to get an outcome. And so, we do think that this is the right path to be able to address some of these operational concerns. But, to be very blunt about it, I don't know of any instances, which is not to say that it doesn't happen, just because we are not the applicant in the ABCA sort of renewals. We're not in the game on that.
Great, thank you. And then I think one other point I wanted to make on rebuttal, and then I'll talk with the letter. In some of the testimony, there was sort of a description of how there's nothing like this elsewhere in the wharf. But as I think, well, Mr. Detman can attest as a fact witness if necessary, but I think we all know, if you walk up and down Wharf Street, the entire length of the wharf, there are small kiosks, smaller establishments, and actual buildings across from multiple buildings that were part of what the commission approved, and create sort of an environment on both sides of the building. And I don't know if you have anything to add to that point, but I wanted to just make that point.
Nothing to add.
Okay. So then in response to the issues raised by the Amaris, I'll walk through them quickly, if that would be helpful. So the first issue they spoke about was noise. We heard Ms. McMahon talk a little bit more about that. First issue they had raised was the idea of sound absorbing materials on the pavilion designed to mitigate noise. And as we've talked about, this is intended to be open air. So most of the time when it's in use, it'll be open air. So sound mitigating materials wouldn't address that. The second item, which is the limit on the hours of the pavilion, they asked for us to limit the hours to 9:30 on weekdays and 10:30 on weekends. That diverges pretty significantly with what's in the cooperative agreement that was approved by ABCA, which calls for the hours to go until midnight during weekdays and 1 a.m. on weekends. And what I want to note again here, which is what we noted in our filing, that's actually 2 hours less than how late Philippe Chow is allowed to be open. Philippe Chow, the restaurant, the agreement allows it to be open until 2 a.m. on weekdays and 3 a.m. on weekends. So the ABCA actually the cooperative agreement actually restricts the use of this space to less than what the restaurant, which is right, which has outdoor seating right at the base of the Amaris. I mean, Mr. Guire was talking about something that's 50 feet away. Well, there's outdoor seating immediately adjacent to the base of their building. That would be even closer. That is just part of the environment of being in a mixed use area where there is ground floor retail and dining. The third point that came up is this idea that we would somehow have real-time noise monitoring equipment rather than follow the way the regulations work, which is reactive. We think that's a step too far here. We'll obviously comply with the noise regulations, and again, the process will allow, if noise is excessive during renewal, to address that. And that's, I think, the appropriate time for that, in addition to sort of ongoing enforcement for actual issues when they occur. And then the last was a prohibition on outdoor speakers, TVs, and live music. We have outdoor speakers that are part of this, and TVs. That's part of what the cooperative agreement anticipated and allowed. There were also outdoor speakers for the Philippe Chow outdoor dining that is, again, immediately at the base of this building. So we don't think that this is too much for us to have on top, though I do think we did think it was reasonable for them to ask and for us to restrict live music. And so we've agreed to do that. On the second item, which was their concerns that were raised about security, which I think were largely raised just in the written piece of this. I think by and large, there is a site-wide plan for security for the wharf and led by Diane Grooms, who oversees the whole thing. And we really think that plan, which we have in place, is really the best way to address security for the wharf as a whole and for these individual establishments. And again, that's part of what was approved in the cooperative agreement. The third item, the loading and unloading, it sounds like we do have some common ground, which is great to hear on sort of, we'll continue to use the loading dock. I understand that there'll be some activity crossing from the Philippe space, but again, this is a small cafe area, bar area. That there's not going to be food service here, so all the food's going to be prepared inside the restaurant. The only activity will be carrying the food out to tables here, and then beyond that, you're just talking about the occasional movement of liquor bottles and soft drinks and the like over to the bar. This isn't excessive loading and unloading akin to what you would have for a full service restaurant. And while I'm thinking about it, on the point about the restrooms, again, there are restrooms inside the restaurant right across the way, and that's where the residents will go and use. And it's no different than if you're sitting in the outdoor cafe seating and you have to walk in to go find your way to the restroom. You just happen to go, a couple of steps further. And then the last item on parking, they brought up concerns about parking as a general issue. I think we hear those. I think that's perhaps an issue for Mr. Sun and his team to work on more broadly, but with respect to the specific establishment and its relatively small amount of seating, it's a proverbial drop in the bucket. So with that, I don't know if you have anything else to add, Shane. But we appreciate everyone's time. And again, I think this whole experience and process over the past year and a half has been one, as we've sort of tried to learn from the past and build sort of an operation going forward. And what I said to Andrew and his team is, this strikes me as not too dissimilar from what you all appreciate this experience with the universities, where you have ongoing relationships and ongoing operations, and you have to just sort of continually engage to make sure you're staying on top of those issues. But that's, I think, one of the things we've taken away from this, and the wharf team is continuing to do. And sometimes it takes precipitating incidents like this to get you going on it, but we're going on it now. And making whether it's small improvements here or there, but everything that sort of improves the relationship of this development to the neighborhood, that has been what we are working on. So with that, we'll conclude, and again, happy to answer further questions, and thank the commissioners all for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Let's see if we have any questions or comments. Looking at my commissioners, any follow-up questions or comments? Seeing no. Vice Chair Miller.
No, I just wanted to thank Mr. David Averill for the testimony in response to the comments, and for your pledge to continue to have engagement as with neighbors as going forward, and Mr. San's commitment to that as well. It just on the restrooms, I agree that it's the same. It's the same as the outdoor cafe that's there at Philippe Chow. There's also, I believe, I don't know where exactly in relation to here, I can't remember. There are public, they're communal, they're public restrooms in the wharf area that aren't part of any individual entity. That's my experience, that I can't remember where exactly they're located, but maybe they are part of another entity. But I think I've seen signage to that effect that directs you to that.
We have ample public restrooms that are available. Parcel 7, parcel 10, I believe, is the closest one there. But to your point, I mean, you're just going to walk into the restaurant. you know, as Mr. Aguirre said, it's 50 feet from the building, and so you know, it's pretty brief walk.
But the discussion about questions prompted a question in my mind, Mr. Chairman, if I can ask, which hasn't been addressed as part of anybody's testimony. So I hate to bring up something new, but I'm just curious, and maybe it may be in our record in the drawing and the submissions. There will be heating, ventilation, air conditioning, I assume, in this pavilion if you're having, or is there not going to be? Is there
No,
enough?
I don't believe so. It's you know, it's open air. There'll be some portable heaters that are brought in sort of cooler temperatures akin to what you see in sort of other outdoor cafe settings, but it's not sort of. This is why sort of saying it's fully enclosed is a little bit of a misnomer, because it's not, you know, airtight. You know, you heard, and then thank one of the support witnesses for noting it. You know, that those curtains aren't solid. They're a mesh. The air passes through them. So this is not going to be a space that can be air conditioned when it's really, really hot, or fully heated when it's really cold. It won't be open for a few months out of the year, presumably, most likely when the weather is too cold to really operate. You know, it's seasonal, but with extended, what the covering allows you to do is extend that season a little bit.
Okay, well, that's what I was wondering. I didn't realize that it wasn't going to be operable 12 months a year, 7 days a week. Yeah, so I was worried about all those liquor bottles freezing or exploding with heat. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any follow-up question, Commissioner Stidham?
Yeah, just a point of clarification, just to see if I heard this correctly. So the restaurant that is supporting this pavilion, it closes 2 hours after the pavilion would be closed?
So my understanding is the cooperative agreement allows it to stay open till 2 hours further later. I think if I understood what Ms. McMahon was saying, is that maybe right now the restaurant actually practically speaking closes a little bit earlier, but you know what they will do, I'm sure the plan is they'll keep the restaurant open with some staff, so that if the restaurant, say, continues to close a little bit earlier and this is open an hour or two later than the restaurant, it'll stay open that people can come in and use the restroom. I'm sure that's part of the plan, and I think if we needed to make that a part of a condition, that's certainly something we could entertain to clarify that.
Okay, thank you for that.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Avenable, Mr. Stedman, and Mr. Sun. Thank you for your presentation. And also, I want to thank the public and all the witnesses, the ANC, and everyone who participated as we move forward. I believe that we're going to be waiting for an ANC report. I think we've given them to Friday. And once we get that, we will take it up. Ms. Shellen, do you have any dates?
Yes. How much time, Mr. Avenable, do you think you're going to need?
Well, I don't know that I mean, assuming, I guess it depends upon what the ANC files, and perhaps if Mr. Aguirre chooses to file something, if we felt the need to respond to it. But otherwise, we won't need to respond if the ANC report is what we think. If it is something, I would want the traditional week or two.
Okay,
But I
so
don't
there's
think the
nothing
commission needs,
additional you need to provide.
not to my knowledge. I feel like the record's complete from our perspective.
Okay, if that is true, then the only thing we need is, sorry about that, it's trying to do Christmas too, is the ANC's report, which the record would be open until 3:00 noon, and we have already notified Mr. Simon, and he's agreeable with that. And so that would be until the 22nd, and we will put this on, and then that would allow you a week to respond if need be. Or since there's no rush and there is a holiday in there, we can give you until December 2nd, 3:00 noon. I mean, 3:00 p.m. rather. And then we'll put this on for the December 18th meeting at 4:00 p.m.
Lovely. Thank you.
Okay. And I believe this is a one vote case. So that'll be up for final action. Chairman Hood,
Okay.
anything else you need?
No, that's it. We all on the same page, everybody? Okay, great. Before I close this hearing, I just want to let everyone know we're going to meet November the 20th. We have a regular meeting. We did not do a closed meeting for that one. We did a closed meeting for the 25th. If we need to go into closed session, it will be the emergency closed session the day of. But I think we can get through it. We may have to do 24/11, but we'll see. Let's just try to go through it and we'll see what we need to do. All right. So with that, colleagues have any questions or comments to me? Okay. All right. With that, I want to thank everyone for their participation tonight, and this hearing is adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.